Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 14, Text number 15. Evam madhya vasayenam munayo gudamanyavaha apavrajya bruvanvenam santvaivyitva cha samabhi. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The great sages, having thus decided, approached King Vena. Concealing their real anger, they pacified him with sweet words and then spoke as follows. Text 14. Muneya yuchuhu nrupavarya nivodhaitad yatte vijñapayama boho ayuhu shri balakirtinam tavatata vivardhanam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The great sages said, Dear King, we have come to give you good advice. Kindly hear us with great attention. By doing so, your duration of life and your opulence, strength and reputation will increase. Purport. According to Vedic civilization, in a monarchy, the king is advised by the saintly persons and sages. By taking their advice, he can become the greatest executive power, and everyone in his kingdom will be happy, peaceful, and prosperous. The great kings were very responsible in taking instructions given by great saintly personalities. The kings used to accept the instructions given by great sages like Parashara, Vyasadeva, Narada, Devala, Asita. In other words, they would first accept the authority of a saintly person, then execute their monarchical power. Unfortunately, in the present age of Kali, the head of the government does not follow the instructions given by the saintly persons. Therefore, neither the citizens nor the men of the government are very happy. Then their duration of life is shortened, and almost everyone is wretched and bereft of bodily strength and spiritual power. If citizens want to be happy and prosperous in this democratic age, they should not elect rascals and fools who have no respect for saintly persons. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose. Text 15. Dharma charita pumsan van manah kaya buddhibhihi lokan vishokan vitarati atannan asanginam. Those who live according to religious principles and who follow them by words, mind, body, and intelligence are elevated to heavenly kingdom, which is devoid of all miseries. Being thus rid of material influence, they achieve ultimate happiness in life. Purport. Saintly sages herein instruct that the king or the head of the government should set an example by living a religious life. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, religion means worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should not simply make a show of religious life, but should perform devotion service perfectly with words, mind, body, and good intelligence. By doing so, not only will the king or the government rid himself of the contamination of the material modes of nature, but general public will also, and they will all become gradually elevated to the kingdom of God and go back to Godhead. The instructions given herein serve as a summary of how the head of the government should execute his ruling power and thus attain happiness not only in this life but also in the life after death. So the great sages, they approached King Vena, hoping to give him some good advice, preach to him. And so that he does not behave like he was, how he is behaving now, as a terror to all the citizens. Though he is only to be a terror to those who are disturbances to the society, those who are demoniac forces, he has to be a terror. But King Vena had become a total autocrat, and simply for his exhibition of power, for his power rasa, he was harassing both the demoniac and those who are pious and living entities. So the sages got very disturbed, because in a society, the saintly person, the sages, the brahmanas, are the people who are watching over the kingdom as to how it is administered. Whether it is being administered as per the principles of dharma, so that there is peace, prosperity, and spiritual elevation for the citizens. So it is their bounden duty as brahmanas to advise the kshatriyas, especially so when a kshatriya like Vena had gone completely out of control. So keeping the welfare of the society in picture, these sages, as per their constitutional responsibility within the society to advise the kshatriya, they approached King Vena and said, "My dear king, we have come to give you good advice. Please hear us with great attention. By doing so, your duration of life and your opulence, strength and reputation will increase. Those who live according to religious principles, who follow them by words, mind, body, and intelligence, are elevated to heavenly kingdom, which is devoid of all miseries. Being thus rid of material influence, they achieve unlimited happiness in life." So they are warning King Vena of the consequences of his irreligious rule. And they begin with the positive consequences of being a dharmic ruler. These two verses are referring to that. that if a ruler is ruling the kingdom as per the Dharmic principles, the duration of life, opulence, strength, reputation will increase. And then they will be elevated to the heavenly kingdom. So this material world is created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead for those living entities who are seeking independent existence, knowledge and bliss. All living entities in the material world live in this illusion, chasing permanent existence, chasing knowledge, and chasing happiness for the body, for the senses, for the mind, for the intelligence. And we find only such people in the material world. Among such people, there are two divisions, divine and the demoniac. The demoniac, very easy to understand, are like most of the living entities in this present world, because they have no idea of purpose of life, progressive values of life. Even if they do not know about Vaikuntha, spiritual, all those things, still there is a progressive path of life of being in the material world and seeking higher happiness by following the Dharmic principles. As it is explained here, heavenly kingdom, which is devoid of all miseries. So, that kind of, even though it is temporary, but it is free from most of the miseries of this material world, except that their existence has to end as that false person, because no material body is eternal. They all have to end. Sometimes their end may be at the end of dissolution, but it will end. Sometimes they may not change their body for billions and billions of years. Like go to Satyaloka, your so-called existence as a person who identifies with the body will terminate only the end of dissolution. So, ultimately, Krishna is a source of unlimited living entities and unlimited creation, giving them all an equal opportunity with free will to be either in this material world. He doesn't mind it. It is according to the desire of the living entity. Even though constitutionally he is the supreme father of all living entities, means he is the origin of all jivas, the tatastha shakti. In a scheme of existence, eternally he creates, maintenance and destroys this material world. The cycle is eternal. So in that way, material world is eternal. In its same material energy, going through the cycles of creation, maintenance and dissolution. giving thus a chance to millions of living entities to live their life according to karma. Their lives are governed by guna, kala and karma, with Lord Himself seated in their heart. Otherwise, they cannot experience this false life in a false body. The living entities in this material world are all having a false body. Why it is false body? Because it is made up of matter. False means it should be copy of something real. So it is a false body means it is not my original spiritual body. So none of the living entities, all the living entities in this material world are devoid of their original body. In this material world also, if you are devoid of your body, what are you called? Ghost. So in the material world, all living entities are spiritual ghosts. We are spirit persons who are trapped in this material body. Because we don't have the spiritual body, we want to express our search for Satchit Ananda. So through material energy, very beautifully arrangement is made for us to believe that we are this body and go ahead with your chase for Satchidananda. So, this is the progressive value of life. That there, if you want, you can move forward to achieving closer and closer to Satchidananda. Definitely the so-called the quality of Satchidananda in this earthly body and the imitation happiness and the Satchit Ananda, temporary Satchidananda experience of the heavenly body is different. So as we go into through pious activities, we rise up from this life to heavenly life, the heavenly body. It is more of closer to the spiritual quality of Satchidananda. But that Satchidananda is bogus. The imitation Satchidananda. Original Atma Satchidananda is different. It is a look-alike momentary Satchidananda. That is what we as spiritualists we understand. That whether it is a heavenly life of very high level of pleasure, happiness, it is all pleasure and happiness created by mind-body system, yantra. Atma Ananda does not require an yantra. It is the soul's direct spiritual happiness coming from his spiritual self, not from the bodily self. Therefore, we say all pleasures in the happiness, everything in the material world are a look-alike pleasures and happiness created through this yantra. But it is not your own happiness. Your own happiness is that of yourself. the spirit person in relationship with Krishna or Brahman even. And happiness independent of the mind and the body system. That is the meaning of saying that in the material world, the pleasure is illusory. Not that the experience of sense gratification at the time of indulging is not a fact. No, that's not what it's saying. Your experience is true. But it is generated out of body-mind system, ultimately experienced in the brain. And all experiences in the brain are based on chemicals. So chemical pleasures, chemical happiness is what we have in this material world. Happiness, dukkha, sukha, dukkha, duality. But in the spiritual world, my spiritual self has happiness. My spiritual self has love, experience of love. All these things are a spiritual fact, which is created in the form of, which an imitation of which is created by the mind and the body system. It's a very fundamental thing that we have to understand. Only then wholesale we can give up this sense gratification. Whether this type or that type or this type or that type does not matter. This is good type of pleasure, this is sinful pleasure. Now forget all that. When we live in this material body, pleasure, happiness is part of the yantra. We also have to go through that. Those chemicals do work even in a spiritual person. Anybody eats tasty food will experience taste, happiness, thrill in the brain. Does not matter who it is, Vaishnava or anybody. Is not attached to that. Of course, when we take prasadam, we understand that along with that so-called chemical taste, there is an overlapping direct taste of Krishna's remnants in that. That is how our taste, sense of taste gets purified from material taste to spiritual taste. Spiritual taste is a taste backed with consciousness. If you understand fully the meaning of Mahaprasada Govinde and Sharira Vidyajal, then your consciousness, background consciousness is set to touch the spiritual component of taste, Krishna's remnants, which will purify our purify our tongue. Purify our tongue. So similarly, all our senses, Rishikena, Rishikesha, Sevanam, Bhakti, Ruchyate. When you engage in the service of the Lord, if there is any sense pleasure in it, it is all purified. Krishna says, I am sex life according to regulative principles. So nobody can have sex life without sex pleasure. The moment it is engaged in the service of the Lord, then there is a transcendental component to it. It enriches the spirit person in this body. So the king, Vena was adharmic. His main duty was to follow the saintly persons. And these saintly persons will advise the king how to give an opportunity for every living entity to have a progressive opportunity. It is not that a human being is not guided, is not given facility, resulting in him falling down into lower species of life. That digressive path of life. The king should punish the sinful persons. People should be fearful of punishment of sinful activities, so that they stay within the religious principles and progress into a higher life. This is as far as the running of this material world is concerned. If a living entity desires to be eternally be in this material world, doing papa and punya, going up and down, all those things, he is free to do it. This is the way material world is created. There will always be living entities in this material world. Even when there is annihilation, all the living entities go into deep sleep, into the original pradhana, the material energy of the Lord, which enters the Mahavishnu's body, which again comes out as universes. So in other words, the living entity is free to be in the material world. But if he is in the material world, Bhagavatam is also telling how to make the best out of the bad bargain. Okay, you don't want to come to Godhead, you don't want pure Atma Ananda, you don't want Atma Satchit Ananda, spiritually originated Satchidananda. That's all right. But you cannot stop seeking after Satchidananda. So, very mercifully I seated in your heart and I created this material world where you can get chemical Satchidananda for moments, few moments. So giving up sense gratification means the living entity has decided, I don't want this chemically induced happiness, pleasure, all these things. I don't want chemically induced. 100% it is chemically induced. We are told earlier, in 150 years back, then we would not have believed. But today science itself has proved that every pleasure, every happiness has got chemical connected to it. You feel depressed, immediately you put that chemical in your bloodstream. Your depression is gone. You put LSD into your bloodstream. Bliss. So everything that we experience in this material world is a imitation. Sat, imitation Chit, imitation Ananda. So Bhagavatam has all the story of the entire creation, purpose of the creation, everything. So here it is said that those who live according to religious principles, who follow them by words, mind, intelligence, are elevated to heavenly kingdom, which is devoid of all miseries. Normal miseries which you talk about in this material, freedom from all that. Being thus rid of material influence, they achieve ultimate happiness in life. So no doubt when one is sattvic, he can understand sattvic with sattvic qualities. It is easier for someone to elevate himself beyond this material life to seek the eternal life. Eternal life. Modern days, there are no. Prabhupada is explaining here that if citizens want to be happy and prosperous in this democratic age, they should not elect rascals and fools who have no respect for saintly persons. So this is very important. A Kshatriya is the expert in administration and his mind is all in all those things. He himself is not a sadhu. He himself need not be a spiritual person. But minimum spiritual person means he need not have himself spiritual realizations. That is very rare, Raja Rishis. It is desirable if it is there. But normal Kshatriya kings are not expected to have all that, but they are expected to listen to these self-realized people who are sages and saints. And they have to run the world, run the kingdom according to that. You see, just like we have this Prabhupada's ISKCON society. We have to have, our basis is Prabhupada's books. Our basis is Prabhupada, the saintly person. So everything that we do here is based on the instruction of Srila Prabhupada. Administration, how we run the temples, everything is done according to Prabhupada's teachings and directions. If someone wants to know what is the ideal way in which the society should run, a little sample of it is a properly run Prabhupada's temple. I would say it's, the best you can find in this world. Most ideal is what Prabhupada himself desired, that there be a varnashrama system. In ISKCON temples, yes, no doubt, nobody can avoid working beyond his gunas. Nobody can avoid. Just like Krishna told Arjuna, you may not fight, but you will end up fighting. It is your nature. So the Varnashrama is not all that organized in the Krishna consciousness movement, but still wherever possible, naturally, water finds its own level in the same way. Varnashrama is also happening. And real Daiva Varnashrama means whatever that may be, in whichever situation you may be there, when you act according to that situation and offer everything for the pleasure of the Lord, then that is ideal. The purpose of Varnashrama system is to please the Lord. So all these things we have to understand. Both the material world and spiritual world. Material world is a reality of Krishna. You can choose to be here, you can go back to Godhead. It is not an illusion. Material world is real. But the experiences you create out of this material world with the seed that I am this material body is illusory. Is illusory. So all these realizations come from properly, submissively executing the principles of sadhana as given by the spiritual master. The big picture you understand, local picture you understand, then you are considered to be a person in knowledge. And that's what all these Bhaktivedanta purports are. Any questions? So one should not misunderstand that, oh, how this Bhagavatam is glorifying going to heavenly planet and will be free from miseries and all these things. But who is speaking to whom? The sages are speaking to Vena. Vena, what is the use of talking to him about Brahmananda? He has to talk to him that what you will get right here. Next life, you will go to heavenly kingdom by doing all these things. So that is the context. It's not everything that is said here in Bhagavatam, every verse, you should not think that it is an instruction for you. Whom is that instruction to? Our instruction is pure devotional service. In the process, we are understanding the entire creation of the Lord. Material world, all these things. We have no interest in all these heavenly kingdoms. One has to get out of this material world, dukkhalayam ashashvatam. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, you told that in the Swarga Loka, there is no material miseries, only is death, they have to die.
No?
There is no material miseries because so much opulence there is in Swarga Loka. So the thing is they have to die, this is the only material miseries. After devastation or some pralaya happened, then
that means?
The Swarga Loka, matlab Swarga Loka people will die. All the demigods will die after when pralaya happens. So my question is, for going Swarga Loka, in the earthly planets, people has to do so many sacrifices, so that they can achieve the...
Make out, keep the mic little away.
So that they can achieve the punya and they can reach to the Swarga Loka. Why don't the Swarga Loka people do some sacrifices, like some spiritual activities, so that they can elevate themselves to the higher planets like Vaikunthas? Because we have heard that Shine Punya Mritya Lokam. They have to again come back to this earthly planet. Because in the spiritual world, in the Swarga Loka also, there is a big rishis, Sapti rishis, Brahaspati rishis, spiritual masters of the Indras. So they have all the knowledge, so why don't they instruct the demigods so that they can elevate themselves directly to the spiritual world?
They have all the knowledge, how would you say? Nowhere it is said they have all the knowledge. As long as you think I am the body. See, you cannot enjoy in the heavenly kingdom. You cannot enjoy anything if you don't think you are the body. Right? Only thing is the body quality is such that you get high quality enjoyment. But they are all in bodily concept of life. They are all in bodily concept of life. In the bodily concept of life, you can live a tamasic, rajasic or sattvic life. Rajoguna, Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, the three gunas are the permutation combinations of how this body influences my pure consciousness. Therefore, it is always told that even Satya Yuga, Sattva-guna is a trap. So because with a desire for higher happiness, with a higher quality body, senses, therefore you are going to the spiritual, to the heavenly kingdom. So they are more deeply engrossed in sattvic happiness, sattvic pleasures.
But their spiritual master like Brahaspati, all the big rishis, they always guide the king Indra. So
You understand?
maybe I want to tell that there also maybe some Bhagavatam classes going on, so that they can understand about spiritual life, so that they are praying that we can come to the spiritual
No,
world.
if they hear Bhagavatam, they'll get disturbed. Their happiness will get disturbed. You know Indra and all these things, what all they do. They only accept boss is Vishnu. That also they keep forgetting. Boss is Vishnu for what? For me to be very happy. There is no question of unconditional love for Vishnu. He is a Param Ishvara. We are all tiny Ishvaras. We pray that my Ishvaratva is protected. Any times their Ishvaratva is protected, they run to Vishnu. When all the demons were attacking them, they're trying to take over the heavenly positions by their tapasya activities. Where did they all go? They run to Vishnu each time. Not for devotion service. These demons want to sit in our place, please protect us. Demon wants to conquer the heavenly kingdom, please protect us. So it is simply a high quality of, don't connect in. So many impersonalists are so sattvic. So sattva guna itself is like zero. When you put one before it, sattva guna has more value than if you put one before rajaguna. If you put one before tamoguna, it is even lesser value. Like you can say, 1 with 1 0 is tamoguna. If you put 1 with 2 zeros, then the 2 0 gets value. In your Krishna consciousness, it's 100 times, 10 times. Now, Sattva-guna, let us say there are 3 zeros. You put Krishna there, then it becomes valuable. By itself, 1 0 or 2 zeros or 3 zeros have no value. They have value only in this material world. So devotees, yes, want to be in Sattva-guna, Brahminical. For what purpose? To satisfy Krishna. That is the purpose. So if satisfying Krishna is not there, simply doing punya or exhausting the punya that they have already got. So, therefore, all these things only a pure devotee can explain. Like Srila Prabhupada explained. Look at the way Prabhupada perceives it. In some conversation, Prabhupada, they were saying about punya and papa. We should all get punya. Prabhupada said punya and papa. One is dry stool, another is wet stool. It is stool. Karma means it is stool. Vaishnavas don't see it as anything great. No doubt, without transcendental knowledge, one cannot execute pure devotional service. That is transcendental knowledge. Not this detailed knowledge. Simply if somebody accepts Krishna is the only Supreme Personality of Godhead, that itself is biggest transcendental knowledge. Slowly his tamoguna will go, rajaguna will go, everything will go. Because of his worship of Krishna as Supreme Personality of God. So if you see in our sadhana, we are not specifically, we have a lifestyle and we are focusing on associating with Krishna directly, chanting, deity worship and all those things. We are not separately endeavoring to become more and more sattvic. All these things. All good qualities will come as one associates with Krishna. without separately endeavoring for those good qualities. So we have to understand, very deeply this aspect about sattva guna. We ultimately want to be in Vishuddha Sattva. Vishuddha Sattva is the sattvic consciousness of Krishna consciousness, of Krishna. Means ignorance-free Krishna consciousness. That is Vishuddha Sattva. Any other question? Grandharat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.